Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Cook and the Coach podcast. Hope everyone is safe and healthy and doing well. We're really excited for you to hear this episode. This is a conversation with our good friend Paul Carlson, who recently started an Instagram page and has been posting more content on his YouTube as well. We talk about gaming, comedy specials. It's a really fun conversation, and we're really excited for you to hear it. Just wanted to give a quick disclaimer before jumping into the episode. This is another one that we pre-recorded weeks ago. The reason I bring this up is because we mention Chris D'Elia quite a few times in this episode. Beza and I went to his special taping in Minneapolis this winter. We've watched his podcast and the other comedy he's made in the past. Since we recorded this episode, some really serious allegations have come out about Chris D'Elia, and I just wanted to make note that we had no knowledge of any of these allegations when recording this. They weren't out yet, and so I just wanted to call that out because it would be very strange to hear the number of times we mention him in this conversation without knowing that we are now aware of the allegations, and we are hoping for justice to be served and for everyone to be listened to, and it's a very concerning situation, and it's troubling, and so besides that kind of somber preamble to this episode, it's actually a really funny conversation, and it's really fun, and hopefully it's a little respite from what I'm imagining to be a very tumultuous time in a lot of people's lives right now. There's a lot of things going on that require our mental attention, and hopefully this can be a little break for you. Hope you enjoy this episode. Me and Beza are really excited to record more stuff, and enjoy. Can you hear me?
Oh, I still can't hear you. Can you hear me?
No, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, 1 second. There we go. Ooh, what you got there?
It's crisp, bro. It's just a LaCroix orange. NBD.
Okay. Hey, I got my sparkling water here as well.
Oh, heck yeah.
So
that's good, dude.
I just poured mine into this fancy Spider-Man cup.
Oh, dude, nice. Dude, this is the first time I've seen you since, last time I saw you, you were on the other side.
Yeah. Last time you saw me, I was not a father.
That's insane. That's freaking wild, man.
I know, it's so crazy, man. It's like you're
Mr. Carlson now.
I know. Oh,
that's so bizarre, dude.
Hold on, let me see if I can get an adjustment with this headset. I can't even really hear myself. Am I talking really loud, or am I okay?
No, you sound fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you could even talk louder. You're fine as is, though. You're doing great.
Great.
Yeah, I don't know where Beza is.
That's all right.
I think he's at the gym right now. I think he's actually driving back from a gym, but we'll see.
That's no problem.
But I don't know. I don't know if we want to start without him or if we want to wait. But
that's your call, man. It's your show.
it's our show. I just take over. Welcome to the Cook and the Dad podcast.
Yeah. My name's Paul. I'm the dad. Just bring the baby in. I give dad tits.
Dude, I don't know why I just thought of this, but saying having that intro, I feel like robotic no matter what I do. I have a line to say. But yeah. I was, for some reason, just now, I thought, I feel like Bob and Larry right now on the counter.
We have to get, yeah. Oh my gosh.
with QWERTY.
Give a moral of the story.
Dude, you know what's weird? My youngest sister, Nellie, she doesn't even know, she didn't grow up watching VeggieTales. She doesn't really know about it. We'll make references or jokes about it, and she'll have no idea what we're talking about. And it's like, we're siblings. How do you not know that?
Does she know 3, 2, 1 penguins, or is she?
Not really. She knows
Is this a deep cut?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know the super The short-lived.
You know that one? They had one season on Pureflix. You know that one show?
Dude, okay, just in defense of Three Twin Penguins, they actually had
Oh
some
yeah.
good bits. My
Oh, they
brother
did.
Jack is straight up trying to get like memes of Three Twin Penguins to like start, and he keeps on like making them because he's like,
That
there's an
is
audience for
great.
this. People know about this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things you always see a meme. Somebody will post something like 90s kids will remember, and then it's like 6 pictures of like
Yeah,
all these things. You're like, oh my gosh.
but it's like '90s Christian kids in,
Yeah,
in the Midwest
exactly.
will know.
Your friend down the street's like, yeah,
Yeah.
90s kids will remember.
It's like
Maybe
93 to 98 or something. It's like
oh
super
my
narrow.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
Gosh, man, I miss Three Twin Penguins.
Yeah,
That shit was the bomb.
honestly, what made me think of it was I think I was on some streaming service or something and I saw it. I can't remember
You
what it
did?
was. Yeah, I think it was like one of those like Christian based they have like all sorts of different like teachings and all sorts of stuff on there, but there was like a kids section.
Oh,
And I think they had like it. They must have the rights to it now or something.
that's funny.
Oh,
I think I said this. We recorded an episode with David Paulson. I think that will come up right before this one. And
great.
I made a joke about KTA 98.5 KTAS.
Yeah.
And just part of me is wanting to like just start a beef with like a local radio station just for fun.
You like go on and sponsor a day
Yeah.
and then send your notes in so they have to read it.
Yeah.
Like, Kenny sponsored this day today and he wants to say this is the worst radio station ever. Oh, we can't.
It's just a video of me like dancing or something. They have to burn it.
Oh my gosh.
How's life in Wisconsin right now? How's it going?
Pretty good. It's a little rainy right now. Everything here is opened up though.
That's what
Like
I've been hearing.
100%, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah, we haven't really gone anywhere in Wisconsin lately.
Mm.
But like every time I drive by a restaurant or see a bar or something like that, there's just people everywhere. So it's just like everybody is flooding back to public areas now.
From other states too. It's like wild. Like I've been seeing people post like from Minnesota, like, "Oh, thank God for Wisconsin," and then just drinking at some, I don't know, like a bar in Duluth or Hudson rather.
I'm probably totally off on this too, but somebody today told me like, oh, there was, 300 COVID cases reported in Minnesota over the last, I don't know, whatever the time period was. And then in Wisconsin, it was like 90 and we're like at 100% open something. I'm like, how is that possible? It's just like everybody's killing the virus with booze or something.
Dude, you use alcohol to like disinfect an area? Like,
oh my gosh. Yep.
That's funny, dude. That'd be like the Trump thing where he was like, he was saying like you can disinfect your lungs. Like,
yeah.
Simple as that, lickety split.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't.
All you need is Fireball in a small bar in Wisconsin. It's perfect.
And you need to just open up.
Yeah. Hey, Baze.
Hello. What's up?
Hey, I'm going to close these blinds because I look like a homeless ghost. Just give me 1 second.
Ghosts famously don't have homes. Actually, that's not true. Some ghosts have housing. It's always like Victorian housing or something.
Well, I don't think that's any better, but
no, that's good. I was just thinking what you just said about a homeless ghost made me laugh, and I think that could be a bit like whether ghosts have homes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they got to haunt something. So.
I guess so. Yeah, it's always like old Victorian homes.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it would be kind of fun to be in a haunted, like a properly haunted house. I think it could be like a formative experience for me.
Spend a night in one or something.
Yeah. Basis.
I'm out.
I'm like, what I just said was like classic, like white guy. Like, I need some struggle. Like, do you know of a haunting?
Where can
Perhaps I could be possessed. I just feel like I need some spice.
One of my friends has a Ouija board. I'm sure somebody will bring it out.
Oh my god! Why do people like Ouija boards? I don't get that.
I don't know.
Why is that like attractive?
No,
I never tried a Ouija board before. No, it's not on the
I'm
table.
getting, like, why would you want to do that?
I don't know.
Mm-mm.
It feels like just like a scary thing. I don't know. Also, I always felt like one of the kids could be like moving it and just be scaring his friends, you know?
They're all trying to move it to certain letters, and he's just strong resistance. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to say die.
One of us tries to spell like penis, and the other one tries to spell like cock. So it's just like going.
They don't realize they're actually trying to do the same
Their
thing.
joke is just like canceling. Yeah, their joke's just canceling out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude, oh man.
oh my gosh.
Oh, gosh, dude, I was also gonna say I don't know, when did you start your YouTube and your Instagram stuff for the gaming? Because I wasn't sure if you started it before you had become a dad or like after, or
Yeah.
like I was curious about when that happened.
Yeah, I kind of started at like the worst possible time for myself. I started it like, I think right after I became a dad. I was like, all right, I'll start this Instagram page, but the YouTube channel has been technically up since 2016. I posted a video in 2016, and then I don't think I really started picking it back up again until maybe late 2018 or early 2019. And honestly, it was just like, I just wanted to create something. I didn't really, even if it wasn't very good or whatever, I wanted to make something and like show it to people. And so like my nephews and stuff like that, I would just like post highlight videos and send it to them. And then, it's kind of slowly developed into just continuing to do it.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some people I recognized in one of your, were you doing like a group like video game sesh, like where everyone was like, I think I saw like someone from
so that was like a scribble.io thing. It was
what's that? I don't know what that is.
So it's like just a web-based game where you could just send out a link to a bunch of people and everybody can just click it and they'll all just basically jump into the web page. And we were doing that actually for youth group because everybody was doing like, staying home or whatever. So we would hop on Zoom, and then I was trying to find a way, to do something with all of them. And so just found that game. It's basically Pictionary online. You type in your answers. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool though. Bro, by the way, this is a bit of a tangent, but so my little siblings just set up the old Wii in one of the TVs in our house. Yes. And I haven't played Wii. I mean, honestly, Baze, since we were rooming together last year, and we had one.
The best.
So fun.
So fun.
Dude, and so I've been playing Mario Kart with my siblings, and it's been a good time.
Oh, man. Such a great game. It was so good that they...
hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being inside and just being able to do something and kill some time. Yeah, gaming is just like, it's one of those things where, once you get into it and you start digging deep, there's like a huge community of people. And, a lot of them are like the typical people you would expect, but they're all like extremely nice and super inviting and stuff like that. I would spend, when I started gaming the most was probably the end of high school and then early college. And, I would like Century. There was like a game room. I'd go in there and play with people and stuff like that. So yeah, it's fun.
That's legit, dude. Have you ever done what is it? Drunk driving Mario Kart?
Oh my gosh, I may have done that with my siblings at one point. We do Mario Night every year on March 10th.
You do?
Mario Day, yeah. And so like all my siblings will come out and a couple of friends of mine, and we'll just play Mario games. So
wait, why March 10th?
So the abbreviation MAR and then 10 kind of spelled looks like Mario. And then it's actually National Mario Day. So
it is?
I think so. Or it's like celebrated by Nintendo at least. Like they're like, this is Mario Day.
That's good enough though, right?
Everyone has to accept it, yeah.
That's awesome, actually.
Yeah.
That's legit, man. Have you I'm trying to think, I've been like debating lately, like I've been telling my siblings, this is a weird thing to say, but I've been telling them like, I think within like the next year or two, I'm going to really get into gaming. And I really have never been, but I can see it on the horizon, but I haven't started. And I can see it coming though, at least for like a couple games, I think I could see. And
how's that happening if you can?
You don't think so?
Games that you've been looking at that you think you wanted to get into, or
part of me genuinely just wants to be incredible at Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers Brawl.
Yes.
Part of me, but also like
the new versions, just
right. Baze, why do you think I would do that?
Well, I mean, I think like getting really good at like Mario Kart, I think that's one thing, but like becoming like a gamer, I don't see it happening for you.
You might be right.
Like you're already too into cooking. You're already like, I don't know. I feel like your interests are like. Here's what I think what's gonna happen. You get into gaming, you like go like super hard for like 2 weeks.
Sure.
Then you realize you just suck at it, so you're just gonna like stop it for like a month.
That's definitely possible.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you're not wrong. During this quarantine, I've gone through so many YouTube wormholes, and I just got rollerblades. I watched so many videos of like European like males being like, all sorts of cool features about these rollerblades.
Jesus Christ.
And like having like these cameras and like following like their moves and stuff. And I ended up buying some, and I've been rollerblading around my neighborhood the past few days.
Yes.
But like a toddler. I literally, this is not like today. I'm still learning. I haven't rollerbladed in 14 years. I like don't remember how to do it, and I'm bad at braking, and so I'm taking it really slow. And I was just like going back and forth on this straightaway in my neighborhood, and these like young children like were watching me, and this one like little girl was like, "Hey, loser!" And then she put on her rollerblades. And then she put on her rollerblades and then started blading faster than me.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like,
so now you're quitting 2 weeks. That's how it goes.
Dude, I will say my shins and my ankles are raw right now, and I don't know how long I can go.
That's what I'm saying. You're giving them 2 weeks. It is what it is.
You might be right. But we'll see. I think I can stay through. At least for the summer. Maybe.
I can still go through summer and then totally give it up in the fall.
It's hard
for sure give it up in the winter, but the fall possibly too. Yeah. I can relate to that though. Like seeing something, getting into it, and then like there's like that super exciting part, like even just like buying the stuff, and getting it, and then starting and being like, oh, this is gonna be so fun, and then 90% of the time you realize like I don't really like this.
It was just an expensive hobby. It was an experiment.
Exactly.
Honestly, that's Ken every quarter. Every like season, Ken has like a new like obsession that he gets really, really into. Then once like the weather changes, he's like, "Nah, I'm over that. I'm gonna do something else now." That's what he does every season.
You're not wrong.
Every time the leaves change.
Every time the leaves change.
That's what I'm saying.
When they bud, when they get green, when they change, and when they die.
I'm gonna wake up in the morning and see the leaves changing and just be like, "Oh, Kenny must be," and text you like, "What are you into now?"
I'm like crocheting.
Honestly, like clockwork.
Beza, what do you think it would take for you to start gaming, like to really become a gamer?
I would say like 3rd through like 5th, 6th grade. I low key was.
Really? This is before I knew you.
Oh yeah.
Really? What games did you play?
Yeah, man. I had the GameCube.
Nice.
GameCube, man. I had a lot of the Madden games. I had NCAA. I had Mario Kart Double Dash. I had what's that one Kirby game from the mid 2000s? I don't remember. One of them Kirby games, and then I had Sonic Adventures. I had that one too.
Oh wow!
I had all different like versions of Sonic.
Sure. I had no idea.
The weekends, like when I was on the weekends, man, that was what I did. Yep. And then like middle school sports started to take over, and I kind of like ditched the video games for sports.
This might sound dark, but honestly, I think the only way Beza would get into video games is if he lost his legs or something. It's like I can't go squat at the gym.
No, that's a good assessment.
Like I feel like that's totally the only way.
You would need an amputation to start gaming, isn't it?
Like a quad, like all 4 limbs. Like if I was to go to the gym with my body still, if I lost my legs.
You had to get one of those special controllers that you can control with your face or something.
Yeah. My tongue is yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's awful, but I love it. I had no idea. I guess I met you in 8th grade. I met you in 8th grade, so I really had no clue.
Yeah, this was like 3rd through like 5th grade, maybe a little bit to 6th grade. But yeah, like in that age group, that age range.
Baze, your theory
Yeah.
is definitely plausible that I might not like stay interested in gaming, but I know I've heard whispers that the PS5 is coming out around
Mhm.
this holiday season,
Yep.
and I'm like wondering if like that's when I start. Are you excited for the PS5?
I am.
No.
I really am. I want to, I want to the PS5 is one of those things like every year there's like, not every year, but every console generation, when it first launches, it's always like this big deal, but it's always extremely expensive and there's few games, there's always like launch games. It's kind of for those people that want to like get into the new technology. Um, so I'll probably wait a couple years, I would think, before I get into the PlayStation 5, just because they keep supporting the old generation for a little while until it kind of transfers over to just being exclusively, yeah, that. But that being
Totally.
said, it is like way faster than than the PlayStation 4. So like load times are really fast and everything like that. They've showed some tech demos and the graphics are like amazing from what I can tell.
Dude,
So it is really intriguing, and so I'm looking forward to it. But for me, it's like, yay, it's coming out, so I can get it in 2 years. It's kind of how I
gotcha.
feel.
So, by the way, I just heard. So I think that might be a tornado watch or warning in my
Yeah, I just heard it too.
area.
I just
Are
heard it
you
too.
hearing it? So
Yeah.
my apologies to the people listening. That's us, not whatever is in your ears right now.
Yeah.
I had like a thunderstorm like rolled through right before we started. And
Oh,
I was
really?
like, oh, lightning and thunder and everything else, and then it just kind of died off right before we started. So, but Kenny, I think if you drop into Apex Legends with me and Chris, you'll have a blast, man. It'll be super fun.
I might have
Got to
to.
get you a PlayStation and an account and everything, get you set up.
I think my brothers have a PS4 actually. I might be able
They
to
do.
log
I've
up.
played with them. I've played with them before,
Yeah.
actually.
I forgot about that.
I've seen them on, and every now and then they've added me. Like when the game was new,
That's
we played
funny.
a couple times together. Yeah.
That's so random. Yeah, I remember them being like, "Oh yeah, like Paul said something," and I was like, "How do you know? You don't hang out with Paul Carlson."
Yeah.
Like that's weird, man.
Yeah. But it's one of those things, like if you don't play video games, it doesn't really click the experience until you like start to get into it, because people kind of have like this, like it's entertainment in a way. It's entertainment, but also it's a game. So like in the same way that people would play sports or try to get better at sports, people play video games and try to get better. That's why
Sure.
video game content is just taking off. It's because it's like when you see the best players, it's like watching LeBron James play basketball. It's like, oh my gosh, how does he do that? And
Let's get into this.
like, okay, when we
This
play
fascinates me.
basketball, we try, right, to play basketball and get better. We know how hard it is to dunk. We know how hard it is to make however many points in a game. And then we see people do it in the NBA against top talent, and they're, above everybody else. And we know how hard it is to do that just with our friends playing around, right? So in the same way with video games, I know how hard it is to, win a game or get a certain number of kills or do a certain amount of damage. And so when you see these guys playing and doing it against top talent, because the games like Apex Legends, for example, you do rank up and you play against people of your caliber. So it's interesting to watch these guys play and try to learn from them too, just like you would, watching their strategy. Like if you were playing airsoft or paintball, for example, in real life, you would be like ducking behind cover and staying near walls and communicating with your friends. And in these shooters, you're doing the exact same thing. You're staying near walls, you're ducking behind cover, you're trying to see people first, get the jump on them, or communicate with people. And so it's just all about hand-eye coordination, though, and
That's fascinating.
and like decision making in your head.
Right.
So.
We had this guy Q, who's like an entrepreneur, and he's really into esports. He does like a podcast about esports.
Yeah, I heard that one.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and he was saying that he thinks his theory is just mainly just talking about how huge esports is going to become in the near future. And some of the things he was saying was just pretty remarkable to me. Even hearing like about like the state. Well, I mean, pre-coronavirus, like the huge arenas that would fill up and like watch people just play. And
Yeah.
it's pretty remarkable. And I just, from
So
someone
crazy.
from the outside, it's just it's really interesting to see something that's so like loved and like huge, and like you have no idea it even happens. And that's kind of like a super cool thing that's like right now, like you can have so many different like incredible things that people get into, and then you literally might never even hear about it or never like connect with it. But it's like,
Yeah.
I think at some point it's going to be like the NFL or basketball, where people will just have their favorite players, or like it won't be as like, because to me, it just from an outsider, it still feels like an underground thing, even though obviously it's not, and a huge number of people are into it, you know?
Yeah, since it's like internet based, it kind of goes a little like unseen in a way. Like you don't see people practicing. You see people outside practicing basketball or throwing a ball around. You know what I mean? But
Right.
and you see people, like you drive by baseball fields and see people playing outside. You don't drive by houses and look in their windows and be like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's playing video games.
Right.
He's trying to get better or whatever."
Right.
Yeah.
Here's my thing with that though. So, like, we're talking basketball, right?
Mhm.
So we're compared to basketball. So with basketball, I can do wind sprints in practice. I can practice on my shooting form. I can practice, I can lift weights. I can do all these things to like get better at the game. I can watch film. There's so many variables in getting better at a sport, right?
Right.
But I feel like with video games, it is just, logged in hours into putting into the game.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just weird to like, I get why people appreciate it because, the gaming world is very big. But at the same time, I don't get like the awe behind it because to me, and not to bash on video games, but you're just twiddling your thumbs.
Right.
And it's
That's
just
what it seems
person's
like.
the best at twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. And it's like people that like most, like I am in both worlds kind of. I enjoy sports a lot. I played sports growing up. And then, I've practiced at sports and tried to be good at sports. And then I've done the same with video games. And so for me, it's like, people that play video games would be like, oh, you're just putting a ball in a basket, or whatever. They boil it down to that. Or like, you're just, like you said, you're putting in hours playing the game. The best way to get better at basketball is to put in hours playing the game. It's like you think about defense and offense and all these other things. And in these games, all those same things are there. Like I was talking about strategy. I mean, it comes down to like your exact movements of like when you're peeking from behind a wall and when you're going behind, when you decide to heal and when you decide to push or retreat or, all sorts of different things. Your headset, you're literally hearing, where people are around you and trying to coordinate like, oh, I hear people in front of me and behind me. I don't want to get pinched. So I'm going to go out this way and, ping an area for my team to go. Like there's so many things you're paying attention to. And like it is pretty much just your hands. So you don't necessarily need to go work out to get better or anything, but you need to work out like your decision-making skills and your, in a way there's a bit of working out with like accuracy and things like that. Because pick up a controller and try to aim, it's really hard until you get good at like controlling everything perfectly.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's so many variables. It's almost hard to like get into, but you watch other people play and then you start to pick up on like, oh, this guy, he doesn't really push a fight unless he hears other people fighting. Then he knows like they're going to be distracted or they're going to be low on health or, there's like a lot that goes into like the decision-making behind how to play. And so,
Okay.
Yeah. And when
So
you,
much
when
more
you
cerebral.
yes, it's like, it's all just like there's strategy in basketball. It's the same in video games. It's just more strategy,
Sometimes my brothers will show me replays, like they'll save like a move they did on like their PS4 or whatever, and they'll be dude, look at this. This is like either amazing or hilarious. That's the only two reasons they'll show me something.
Yeah,
and
right.
They'll show me, and I feel like an asshole, but I don't appreciate it. And I'm like,
okay,
I don't know how to
feel the
react.
same exact way.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have context. I don't have like what you're saying. Literally, I
Exactly.
don't have the muscle memory. I'm not familiar with the rules or like the laws of like that like game. You know what I mean? It's like
you have nothing to compare it to. So you're
Right.
not thinking like they could show you something and you might be like, this is the baseline. Like this
Right.
might be what everybody can do. You don't know if it is or not. Like you could watch somebody dunk a basketball or something and be like, if you don't play basketball, you don't know how many people can do that, how hard it is.
Right.
So it's the same thing kind of.
Totally. It's like, oh, now I get like how my mom feels when I show her like a LeBron play.
Exactly. Like, whoa. And she's like,
it's like, this is insane. Look at the footwork. Look at the ball handling. Look how high he jumps. And she has no context. She's like, oh, he scored. That's cool. Like he's a tall guy.
Yeah.
It's actually funny too, because I can watch back my own gameplay when I'm editing something. And honestly, my videos, I'm not elite. I'm maybe better than average, maybe when I play these games, but it's mostly like the experience, right? And creating something. But I can watch back my own gameplay, and this is how kind of weird it is for me. Like I watch it and I go, I'm making the decisions in my head all over again on what I should be doing. And I'm feeling how slow I'm doing it in reality. Like I'm going like, why aren't you going over here? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you healing? Why aren't you? And then, you know, I'm doing everything slower. Like if you recorded yourself playing basketball, you might be like, what is that footwork? Like, why didn't I just go over there? Like nobody was over there. I should have shot there. I was wide open.
Sure.
You know? And so like,
so do you think that
myself judging myself?
Do you think that you're becoming a better gamer now that you're like making more like video content and like watching yourself back?
Yes, I would say so. Honestly, because it's easier to critique myself. And I also become better when I play with other people that I know, because we communicate with each other more and we'll like tell each other like, hey, this is where you might have messed up, or, you know, we'll kind of like correct each other. Because when we go back and again, we don't want to make the same mistakes, you know?
Sure.
And so
it's like watching tape. Like
yeah, it really is. Yep. And then even like same way, like you would watch like an NBA game and you would be like, watch how a guy does like a post up move or something. If I ever watch somebody who's a professional player, I can see how, like one thing I just recently picked up on is how many pro players don't approach from the same avenue more than once. So they'll come in on a team and attack, and if they take any damage, they'll retreat, heal, and they'll come in from another angle. So they'll just try to be unexpected, or they'll shoot really quickly and move to another area of the map, you know, and they'll just kind of constantly be moving and trying to throw the other team, you know, off to try to confuse them or whatever to try to win. So
sure. That's
so and then if you do it and you have success with it, it's like, oh, this works, you know. You can actually implement the things you see and then feel the improvement. It's interesting.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Baze, would you say, because Baze, you've been posting like a lot of like workout videos for like, you've been really consistent about it for a long time. And I wonder, like, is it easier for you to watch your form and like improve on your lifts, like the more you've been posting? Like kind of similar?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do like when I'm working out. Like I'll have like someone record me, and then immediately after I'm done with that set, I'll go and watch the video to see, okay, well, maybe I start getting far back enough on this. My chest could be a little bit higher on this bench press. Like I'm watching the film like right away after a set. So when I go to my next set, I know what to correct, I know what to focus on. So yeah, it helps me a lot.
I was going to say, Paul, we were talking before we started recording about, you were saying that you were interested by how some of the videos that you post get more attention than like you were expecting. And I was curious about that. Like, because it's always interesting to see like what people gravitate towards.
Yep. So I think YouTube's just kind of a funny place, because there's certain things that it's an avenue for where there's so much content streaming in. There are so many people posting video game content because everybody wants to sit at home, play video games, and make money to do it, right? So it's like, that's like every kid's dream job. So they're posting everything, just flooding it. And then there's other types of content that take more time to make, that less people are doing. So for example, you know, I've been posting gaming content pretty consistently. It's mostly what my channel is. But then I decided to build this desk that I'm sitting at right now, actually. And I recorded me making it, putting it together and stuff like that. And I've noticed it's the only video of mine that just consistently gets views. And it's the only one where if I search key terms, it actually shows up near the top of the list. And my only assumption with that is that like, it must be that less people make this content, or, you know, it's just kind of, it's also one of those things like a DIY video, people kind of search that.
Right.
They'll watch multiple to try to learn what to do or get different ideas. Whereas if you're searching video games, there's so much content and there's certain people that are always at the top. And so you're going to watch a video and then dive into that person's stuff. But if somebody makes something that on their channel, they don't make it 10 times. So you can see them make it 10 different ways.
Right.
So it's not a lot, you know, my channel's really small, but you know, most of my videos, I would say get anywhere from like 10 to 25 views. And this one's like at 250 and then just kind of like slowly climbing, gets a couple a day or something goofy like that, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, and then that gives me like, I like woodworking too. So it kind of gives me another avenue of like, I can still create like double time. I can create something, create content, put it out. People can see the video I edited and the thing I made, and I get to kind of do both things. So I'm working on, you know, I'm trying to do it still gaming related. So I'm working on like creating a headset stand, and I'm working on different things like that, and recording that type of content. But
interesting.
yeah, YouTube is interesting because I don't know. It seems like there's certain types of content that if you dive into trying to make, it's just like there's too much of it. You know? It's there's a million podcasts too. You know what I mean? There's so many, and like I want to make one. It's like so. But that's the other thing too. I remember in one of your guys' episodes, you guys had Ali Sultan. Is that how you say his name? On it, he said that creativity requires motion or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And you know, there's been so many times with my channel, it's like, it's just, there's nothing that, you know, it doesn't get any views, you know, or whatever, but that's not really why I do it. I do it to create. And so it just kind of like, to get better at creating, I have to keep creating, even if I don't like the outcome, you know, all the time. And like, I'm my worst critic. So I watch things and I'm constantly like, this is terrible. But just continuing to finish something, put it out so you can move on to something else, and just kind of keep working is interesting.
That's huge.
Yeah, that reminds me of like Ed Sheeran talking about like writing songs. It's like in order to get the good songs out, you have to write all the bad ones first, and then eventually the good ones will start coming out. So you have to keep working on the process of creating so the good products can eventually come over time. Yeah,
I feel like for most people, if they try extremely hard at whatever they're really interested in, that even if it takes time, they'll eventually have a level of success in that avenue. You know, it just takes time and putting in. It's like whoever can persevere the longest will eventually make it. You know,
right?
But
I definitely feel that. Oh, we were just saying that it's like always awkward, like seeing like the countdown for Zoom being like you have 5 minutes left, and it kind of feels like picking up a girl on a date in like a terrible car or something. It's like, this is a budgetary restriction that I have, and I'm sorry.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh.
I can't do anything about it.
We're going to break down in any second. Oh man. Are you guys excited to get back in the studio and be all together with your guests and each other? And
yeah, dude, it'll be good. I will say that it's kind of convenient doing the Zoom.
Super convenient.
Yeah. Well, because do you both have to drive somewhere to do it together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was close, but it was just like, you know, it's an extra thing. Like this is like a little more convenient. I like it. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of just feel like being in the same room as people and like hearing their voices and feeding off that energy would be, you know, it's like, it just feels like it'd be a different experience. Cause you almost have like that delay too when you're talking to each other here, where you're just kind of like, oh, what do I?
Where in like normal conversation, if there's that kind of delay, like your brain's like, is a spear going to go through my head? Like you're trying to figure like, is a tiger about to pounce? Like,
right.
Pace, what do you think? Are you excited to get back to the studio?
I am. I just don't want to lose the video aspect of what we're doing.
Yeah, we got to keep
know
doing
what I
the
mean?
video.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to figure that out. But to be
Yeah.
honest, though, I think the Zoom and like trying to figure this out, like between us, like the cadence and everything.
Yeah.
I think when we get back in the studio, we're going to be like clicking on all cylinders. You know
Honestly, yeah. Yeah, like not like the weird delays and like technical things and stuff like that. I feel like it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
Have you guys thought about doing any other? I know I'm not meaning to interview you guys, but have you guys thought about doing any other content together other than a podcast? Just because I was just thinking the other day how it would be interesting to see you guys like take people out to local restaurants or something that Kenny likes or something like that, and like shoot that
fun.
of like you guys talking and being with each other.
I have a couple ideas. I was going to bring it with Ken after this, actually.
Oh, nice.
So glad you brought that up because I have a few ideas in mind of what we could do in the future.
I'm curious.
I think right now we'll direct the podcast, but I could definitely see us the next 2 or 3 months. Start to create other content. So
Well,
I have some ideas.
I'm not a cameraman.
Ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody to be quiet and just follow you guys around.
Dude, you're hired.
Let me know.
It pays nothing.
Sounds good. Around the house. I'll just be me with a baby strap to me.
Right? Your baby's like crying. You're like, shut the baby up.
What do we do?
We're trying to go viral.
How do I feed it?
Baze, I'm curious now. Because, yeah, me and Baze are always like bouncing ideas off each other. Like, oh, maybe we do this type, that thing. So, yeah, I'll be down. That'd be fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like your guys' content. So,
dude,
cool
appreciate it, bro. Dude, I'm so glad you're on this, by the way. Like, I was like, I got to get Paul on here. Like, this would be so fun.
Yeah.
I was going to say, one thing that we all have, like me and Paul, like for people who don't know, like there's no reason you would, but like all three of us, like we go back a ways. Like I've known Paul, you might be my oldest friend, honestly. Like, I think like we went to church together, like super, super young. So I don't know if I was like actually buddies with anybody else before then.
Right.
But
I'm trying to think too. I mean,
yeah,
that's interesting you bring that up because I've met people in kindergarten before I'm still friends with, and I have neighbors I'm friends with. But yeah, like we were probably friends.
Are you saying that I'm not your oldest friend?
No, what I'm saying is
fucking get off the call.
Just leave.
Hang up the headphones.
No, honestly though, now that you're making me think about it, you are probably just because of like preschool, probably like hanging out at church, daycare or something. Yeah,
dude, it's crazy. Yeah. What I was gonna say is like we all go back like quite a ways, and one thing that we have in common is that we're all really into like comedy, and we've done like we've gone to stand-up shows. Paul, me and you, and a couple of our siblings, we went to a taping of a comedy special in Chicago. Yeah, which was freaking awesome.
That was so much fun. I mean, just the whole experience of going to Chicago and kind of going on that adventure with you was a blast. And to be honest with you, because we went and saw Pete Holmes, and I hadn't seen anything of his before going to that show. And so going to the show and then, just laughing my butt off the entire time was like such a fun experience. It kind of stuck in my head. And I honestly think, other than watching probably like Jim Gaffigan years ago, that was probably the first comedian that, I started getting into other comedians and starting to listen to them and stuff like that.
Wow. Yeah. That's formative. That's huge.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the best, that might've been the best live comedy experience that I've had in my life. I think it's like in terms of like our seats were like maybe like what was it, like 7 rows from the front, so like you could really see the facial expressions.
Yep.
It's crazy. Baze, me and you recently went to the Chris D'Elia special, but we were like, which was amazing. It was so good, but we were in like the back. We were like 7 rows from the very back of the auditorium, which like I don't know. Have you seen the? Yeah. Did you watch the special that's out on Netflix now, Baze, for that one?
Yeah, I saw it.
Nice. I literally watched that this afternoon. What did it make you think of when you like were seeing it again?
I was wondering myself, like, before I watched the special, I was like, will these jokes be as funny as I thought they were? And they were, which was really nice to see them, like, hold up, like, from the live performance to, like, the at-home experience. I definitely think if we were closer, like, on a lower level, would have enhanced experience, like, even more.
Yeah.
But, you know, what can you do, you know?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I saw
Yeah.
my sister got me a year or two ago for my birthday. She got me tickets to see John Mulaney with her at on the U campus, which is great. He's really funny, but he's not like a loud comedian. He's not like really like flowy, and you can see the bits from like way far back. He's like very diminutive, I guess.
Yeah.
And so he was hilarious, but I couldn't see his face almost, you know? So it was fun, but I think there's like something to be said, like sitting close, like it really makes like a difference.
Yeah. I mean, the atmosphere we were in with the Pete Holmes one was just like, like you were saying, there's just people everywhere. We were really close and the laughter was so loud. I'm sure like the ones you guys were at too, there's probably even more people than the one we were at, Kenny.
Yeah.
But there's something about being
big.
in that environment where that laughter is contagious. And even if like a joke doesn't hit you like it does somebody else, you'll just like, I remember with Pete Holmes, I was just laughing. Like I felt like I went in there and when he started, we were just laughing continuously throughout the whole thing. And
I was in pain.
Yeah, seriously. And so, and then watching it back, yeah, we were laughing, but there's always, you hit your sense of humor more when you're watching something. Because like if I ever watch a comedy special alone, I see myself not laughing throughout the entire thing, but just like finding certain things funny, you know?
Right, like certain components of it.
But yeah. There's certain things that you find funny versus just like if you were there and your buddy's laughing, you'll just start laughing, you know?
Totally.
Sure, totally.
Yep.
One of my all-time favorite bits, like live and also in person on the screen, was the Leah's bit that we saw at the taping. Where he talks about airdropping, and I could not like stop. Like I was hurled over, like crying, laughing, and Ken was like not like laughing as hard, but he saw me laugh, and then he started laughing.
I started laughing.
Me laugh
just because you were dying.
Yeah.
Do you not have an iPhone?
So like,
I do, but the bit right after.
I don't have an iPhone. I don't have an iPhone, and I thought it was hysterical.
Neither do I.
That's the thing.
It's funny too. I think I watched that special late one night when I was up with Noel recently. Like I just put things on, and it was on as I was pacing around the room trying to get her to fall asleep. And I'm trying to remember what that bit is. I'm sure we would butcher it if we tried to recreate it. But wasn't he talking about airdropping people like random pictures?
Yeah.
Yes.
Watching their reaction or something like that?
Yeah.
It's not even the most like technically like sound bit or like the most like well-crafted bit in the special, but for some reason like the concepts he was throwing out just it got me both at home and the live experience.
He's one of those comedians that is so uniquely funny. You know, there's a lot of people that are funny, but I think of Chris D'Elia, Bert Kreischer maybe, and then like Theo Von, where it's like they are them. You don't be them because you can't be them. They're them, you know? Mm-hmm. Like Theo Von, especially, like if you ever listen to him, like the things that come out of his brain on his podcast, you're like, who thinks that way?
Right.
Nobody thinks who is this guy?
You know? Yeah. Like where does he come from? You know?
Like what is the formula to get to that thought? How is it possible?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I heard about Chris D'Elia during a podcast that just like made me think like cement him as that, like this person in my brain, was when Bobby Lee was talking about how Chris D'Elia sent him a picture, like a video of his dogs playing on a stack of money. Like, look at my dogs, and the dogs are playing, but they're like playing in just tons of cash. And I'm like, yeah, that's him. Like that pretty much does it.
Dude, just so silly. I freaking love that so much. Have you guys seen Baze, I don't know if I sent this to you, but there's a video of Chris D'Elia that he posted on his Instagram, and it was him giving a hand washing tutorial.
Yes.
No, I haven't seen it.
You saw it, Phil?
Yeah.
Baze, I'll send it to you after this. It's just like you should sing a song. It just helps you make sure you wash for long enough. And then he just starts singing like what's his face? Like the opera guy. I'm forgetting his name, but it's
like How great? No, what was it?
It's like, you raise me
Yes.
up.
Josh Groban.
Josh Groban. Yeah,
Yes.
that's it. You start singing like Josh Groban, and it's fucking hilarious. And it's become a joke around my house. Like, if anyone's washing their hands, I just get behind them and just start singing that super loudly.
As you should.
Oh my god.
As I should. Do you guys have like, if when you're watching comedy, like, because what I'm really curious about is like seeing a special, something that you saw taped live, and then you go back and then you watch it later, and you have the advantage of already kind of remembering some of the material, so you can like. But I'm curious, like, do you like? For me, I was watching the Pete Holmes special, for example, and all I could think of was like, when are we going to be on there? Because there was a camera like right next to like our row for a while, and so like the whole time I was like, oh, that's interesting that they shot it like that. Like, oh, this looked a little bit different than from how I remember. Like, oh, I forgot that bit, you know?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird when you were there, you can kind of see in the Pete Holmes one, we could tell when it would go pan to the crowd, would be like, oh, that was the first show, or oh, that was our show.
Yeah.
Because we'd be like, we're not there. We're supposed to be right there, and we're not, you know? And I think when we watched it back in the beginning, like when he's walking out and they show the crowd cheering, me and Kenny got like, like a half of a second of HBO fame because you could see the back of our heads and our hands.
We're in it.
We're like, we're on HBO. There we go.
Yeah.
We made
the cut.
Kind of similar to that. So Andrew Schultz, who's my favorite comedian, he has a special where at least in parts, like 10-minute parts. I can't remember what the name of it is. It's skipping my mind, but
I remember.
he recorded like his special like a month before he came to Minneapolis, and they did like not all, but like half like the special like in Minneapolis and the other bits too.
Right.
So when he released like week by week, I would like see the bits that he did in Minneapolis and ones he didn't, and like I remember like feeling, oh, like this was funnier in person, or oh, this is funnier like done like in a living room experience. Like it's just so interesting to see like what works and what doesn't. I think, and one thing that Schultz says is like it's almost better to do specials in like a small comedy club than like a big theater.
I totally think that.
Because when you're in a small club, you're like talking like more directly to the people there. Whereas like in a big theater, you're like trying to talk to this massive crowd.
Yeah.
But the smaller experience is gonna translate better to like a home theater, like a home like TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
That's the thing with Andrew, like especially for him. I mean, his crowd work is like top notch, right? I mean, that's really all I've seen of his is a lot of his crowd work. And he just seems like if he could, he would just do that. He would go out there and talk to people.
Well, that's part of it, right? Like, this is crowd work, but he also like makes the jokes like almost like directly at the people like he's talking to in like the front row. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
So I feel like with him, when he's gonna do this big special in November in a big theater, I'm kind of worried for him because I'm kind of worried like it won't translate the same way. He's a very like personable guy with his comedy.
He has that. He has this feeling like when you're watching him, he seems like he's hanging out with people. Like even the way he laughs and he's hitting the mic, you know what I mean? And he's not
performing; he's just hanging out.
Exactly. And he has this. He finds himself funny. Like he's trying to just say whatever he thinks is funny to him. And so like when he's laughing and like stuff like that, it's just like, oh, he just seems like he's hanging out, you know?
Totally. One of my all-time favorite specials, I think it's Brian Regan's, I think it's I Walked on the Moon. And that's a similar thing where it's one of his older specials and it's kind of slept on, but it was shot in a smaller like improv comedy club and like relatively small audience. And it's just, there's something about it. Like he's so close to the people that he's doing the bits to. And then he does these other specials, and I'm like not critiquing him, but I'm just saying like he did it in these like larger theaters and these like much bigger venues, and it was like impressive, and the jokes were still funny, but it didn't feel as like immediate and electric. And part of that I think is because he's very physical, and it's like when you're like that close to someone doing something so physical, maybe that's part of like a visceral thing. And I was like, just keep doing the small theaters, man. Just keep doing like little clubs and record there. Like, we know you can sell big places. Like, you're a very famous, talented comedian. You know, like, you don't need to.
This brings me to another thought I had about specials. Is like because a lot of comedians have podcasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've realized in the past, like, few specials came out on Netflix. Some comedians I like more so for their podcast, and some I like more for their specials.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd be the ones I like more for the podcast. It would be the same. I like their specials more. I found out it's actually not that way. Like, for example, Tom Segura, huge fan of his podcast. Like, I live for them, right?
Your mom's house.
Your mom's house. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But his special, it was good. I had fun with it, but I wasn't like dying laughing.
Right.
But Kreischer, Crystalia, like, they have a podcast. I listen to them from time to time, not all the time. But their specials, I was like Birds. I was crying, laughing, like dying on the floor, like could not love it more.
Yeah,
I thought it was interesting. Like, oh wow, like I resonated with this person more on conversation form. But as far as like the art of comedy, I like these people more. It's kind of interesting to see like the difference.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I think I've laughed harder at Theo Von's podcast than I have his comedy specials. Like, in the same way, like I was talking about how, like, sometimes if I watch a comedy special alone, like, I don't laugh. I found myself often just taking in what he was saying and just kind of like not really laughing, I guess. But when I listen to his podcast, maybe it's like almost more unexpected, and maybe that's why I find it funny. But I can resonate with that a lot. Like, there's people that I'll listen to their podcast. I think it's great. I listen to like a comedy special and I'm just kind of like, it feels scripted almost, like, and it just doesn't come off natural maybe. But and then there's other people that just hysterical with their specials or their live comedy.
I wonder if if having all these comedians doing podcasts will be like an additional component to their comedy workout regime or something like that, where it'll help them develop faster. You know, like,
I could tell you already, for Schultz, it 100% is. Because there'll be things that Schultz says in a podcast, and like a year or even like a year and a half later, I'll see that same idea, like the same exact idea in a special. I'm like, oh, he took that free-flowing conversation in a podcast. He took that and he made it into a bit, like, way later on down the road. I think you're going to see more comedians do that, where it's like, oh, shit, that was a great moment in this podcast. Can I make this into a bit? Let's see what happens on the road. And then they make it into a bit.
Right. Yeah, it's like an hour-long open mic that you can just do whatever, at least an hour or whatever. But it's like you can do whatever you want with it and just like shoot the shit and just like experiment. And there could be a downside of that, like you're not getting immediate audience feedback. But as long as you're doing open mics, like I feel like that wouldn't necessarily stunt your growth. But
exactly, they probably treat it like writing more than anything. Getting ideas out, putting them down somewhere, if it's on a video or whatever. They kind of word vomit, get it all out there. They could get some reaction if any of them want to look at the comments or things like that. But yeah, I would assume they treat it like writing. And then as long as they're performing live, they get that immediate reaction of, there's so many nuances to how making a joke land. So they have to work it out even until they can get something to be funny to people,
Right.
Totally.
In that live aspect.
I think also depends on the comedian too. Like, I don't think Joe Rogan, who has like every single subject known to man, was to take a bit from his podcast and make it to a bit on stage. I don't think he's going to do that. Or like Bill Burr, where he's just ranting and screaming for an hour on his podcast. I don't think he's going to make it to a bit either. But
actually,
like
I've seen Bill Burr do that.
I could say that happened. Really?
I've actually seen Bill Burr do that. I actually stopped listening to the Monday morning podcast for a while because some of my favorite clips of Bill Burr are him on the Conan show, like doing some of his like material there, and like just talking with Conan. And I was noticing that sometimes there would be premises that he had like been working on and like free flowing thought like through the podcast. And I was like, oh, I kind of feel like this got spoiled.
Oh, you're saying he was doing a podcast, brought a Conan, and brought it to the stage. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So he like thought of it, I guess, on the podcast, and then he was on Conan's show and then that was like the bit basically. And then I'm sure he probably worked it on stage before that, but I was like, that's kind of like, it's not that it's bad, but I was like, I kind of like, as my chair goes crazy. I was like, I kind of liked not having any idea what the premise would be. And then all of a sudden being just shocked by some of the best like interview, like comedy I've ever seen, you know?
What type of comedy do you guys like the most? If we had to try to break them down into groups, like, do you guys like shocking comedy? Do you guys like storytelling comedy? Like the more raging loud type people? Like what is your go-to, would you say? Or like weird people, like goofy?
I like, Baze, do you want to go first?
I'm all over the board.
Sure.
I'm all over the board, to be honest. Like I said before, like Schultz is my favorite. So like him and guys like Akash Singh, they're like non-PC, but they're also like, they're not left, they're not right, but they're like non-PC guys who just see both sides of what they are, and they just go and they don't care what anyone else thinks.
Right.
So I like the kind of comedy. I've also found I'm really into like storytelling and like just the most like ridiculous, crazy stories. Like Bert Kreischer, like he's a great storyteller. Just like I was dying during his special. But I also like really intellectual, like things that make you like think. So like a Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle, where like you're not even laughing all the time, but you're just like thinking and like trying to keep up with their thoughts.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And I also like Tom Segura a lot because he has a lot of dark humor and things are dark. So
that's something that I found interesting. Like I feel like most people that I hang out with or people that I'm around in my life probably would find that type of humor like super off-putting, but there's something like that. There's something about it that I find funny. It's almost like you can't help but laugh at how absurd
you
something
understand
is.
his underlying rage that's just always there.
Yeah.
Like him and Dalia, like there's just like this rage that they are just holding back, suppressing with their comedy.
Yeah.
And I relate to it and I love it.
What about you, Kenny? Is there a type of comedy you like a lot?
I'm similar where I'm kind of all over the board. I think probably if I had to choose a comedian who represented like I feel like Dave Chappelle does like the storytelling. He does the intellectual stuff. He does like characters kinda. He does like just really silly shit like Looney Tunes type like act out things.
Yeah.
And I feel like I like that when you can kind of flow in and out. That was one thing I was kind of thinking with the Chris D'Elia special I just watched. It was like watching it again, I was like, oh, he's not showing it super obviously, but he's kind of constructing almost like this 3-part show talking about like how he approaches being a comedian, but it's not about that kind of. And so he'd have like these totally absurd bits, and then he'd have more like controversial like type bits, and just all over the place. And
yeah,
I really like that right now, I would say. But yeah, what about you?
For me, it's weird because I have watched a decent amount of comedy specials, but I'm mostly into people's podcasts. And the comedians that I like right now, I haven't necessarily liked their specials. Like I like Theo Von. I think that he's just like intrinsically funny. Like he's just a funny person. Same with somebody like Bobby Lee. He doesn't have a special. I think he's finally working on one, but he's been a comedian forever. And like Bobby Lee just says the most ridiculous things. And like, he's just like,
yes, he does.
You know, he's goofy. He acts funny. He makes himself look funny. You know, he's just like really weird and goofy. And I think that I like that type of comic for some reason. I always found like random things funny, you know, like random humor. Like
I don't know why he doesn't have a special yet.
That surprises me.
He kind of has like been like, he's also a very like complicated person. I think he wants somebody to come to him with it, you know, and he kind of has always had this like, honestly, he probably does it to himself to have something to talk about, you know, and have people be like, oh, you need to have a special. That's just kind of how it comes off. But I think he's been badgered enough to the point where like, he's like, okay, I'll do one, you know? And that's what it sounds like. In his last few podcasts, he said like, it's coming, you know, it's on its way, it'll happen. And so, yeah. But like his narrative was that nobody ever came to him. Like nobody ever asked him to do one, so he wasn't going to do it until like Netflix or, somebody came to him that was big and wanted him to do it. And so like he wouldn't reach out or do any of the work. That's what it kind of seemed like. But
I could definitely see that being the thing, kind of, unfortunately, maybe like a bit of a self-destructive thing, or like trying to get an attention, or like a joke to make about not having a special.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, he's fucking hilarious though.
Paul.
Yeah.
What do you use for like editing YouTube videos?
Okay. So great question. I go the cheapest route possible. So
Love it.
For me, I find a lot of free stuff. So for editing, I don't have a game capture card, which is something I need to get. So for actual PlayStation gameplay, I edit on the PlayStation, which is way harder than it needs to be. And it's just is what it is. But if I edit any gameplay on my PC or any other videos, I edit with a software called Shotcut, and it's free. I use Audacity for audio. I use a thing called OBS, Open Broadcast System. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. But if you guys get into shooting your videos live, your podcast live, if you ever want to do a live show, you can stream live to like YouTube, Twitch, anything like that. You can, set up, they're called scenes, and you can cut between different things live at, things like that. So that's really helpful for getting like, a webcam on screen with your computer screen or whatever. So I use that for recording. And then for thumbnails, it's like a cheap version of what would the common photo editing software be?
Photoshop
Photoshop, right. But the one I use is called GIMP. Excuse me. GIMP. And that one's free. And yeah, I just can edit on that, any thumbnails or anything like that I want.
Interesting.
Yep. Yeah. And so like, as far as capability, I don't know what the paid things are like. I've never used them. So I just kind of, YouTube University, man. I just look things up.
Right.
There you go.
Yep. That's the way to do it.
Oh shit. Well, we just got we're once again running out of time. All right. Well, this has been fun, man. I'm so glad you got to come on. You will have to have you back on again sometime. Like,
oh my gosh, I would love it. Sure. I would love it. And I would like to get together with you guys in person eventually. If you guys go back to that.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously you don't have to keep this part in, but if you guys ever want help with anything, I'm not, great at it, but I have fun doing it. So if you guys ever want me to show you guys how to use OBS or anything like that, I could be your Jamie. So let me know.
Dude, I appreciate that.
Love it.
Dude, love it.
Oh my gosh.
Jamie, pull that up. We literally will call you Jay.
I have to legally change my name to get the job. No.
Yeah. We just become so eccentric all of a sudden. It's an interesting offer, but we need one more thing from you.
And he's just smoking weed, talking about.
I'm in.
Oh man,
that's fun, man. Well, do you wanna plug your IG, your YouTube, anything so people can follow it? Check out what you do.
My Instagram is Paul_Carlson_gaming, and then for YouTube, it's just Paul Carlson. You can probably find me on there. My face is the icon or whatever, so you'll probably find it. And then that's pretty much it. That's all I have going right now. I don't post anything else.
Oh, all right.
Right on.
Check it out. Thanks, bro. Love you. Stay safe.
Sweet. Thank you, Kenny. Thanks for having me on, guys. I was really excited to come on. I like your guys' podcast a lot. So
hell yeah, man.
Oh, thank you, man.
Great.
That means a lot.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys.
Talk to you guys later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.